Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Mahrukh?
Walaikum assalam, Farhan. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me for this interview. This is such a privilege. And I like the background on your side as well.
This is just to show off that I have done something in my life. I'm
Yeah, show off gesture. I got it, got it.
yeah. Okay, so tell us about yourself, about your education, and what do you do?
I would talk about my experience. As far as my education is concerned, I have a master's in Masters of Philosophy in Applied Linguistics. But as far as my experience is concerned, I've been associated with the academia for over a decade now. And I started off my teaching career with the university level. I've been teaching at the university level for last 10 years, out of which 6 years I've been teaching at Lahore University of Management Sciences, which is known as LUMS. So that's
That's
a
good.
great workplace. I must say
Indeed,
that
it
that's
is.
the best workplace one could ever ask for. And lately, I've been okay. Before that, I'd like to talk about my research profile as well. Well, since education is not just about teaching; it's about a whole lot of effort that comes along with that. So I have to be involved in research studies as well. But teaching has always been my primary focus. However, I've been involved in researching, writing research articles. I've written multiple research articles, got them published in international journals. I've also presented my studies around the globe. But lately, I've just been focusing on online teaching strategies, tools, and techniques. So that's been my major focus for last couple of years. I've just been trying to, find different ways, experimenting with different digital platforms, online platforms through which I could make my teaching as interactive, engaging, and exciting as it is in person. So that's been my focus lately. Nothing
That's
else.
wonderful. That's wonderful. And how is it going, by the way, the online teaching thing?
Well, thanks to pandemic that has introduced us to the intricacies of the web. Online teaching is now, since we are comfortable with online teaching at this level, I think we are going back to in-person teaching next semester. So it took us a couple of years getting comfortable with this, and now the things have reversed. But thanks God that things have normalized. So I enjoy in-person teaching more than online, obviously, because especially teaching writing courses is way tough. Teaching online as compared to in-person teaching. I've discovered multiple ways through which I could have fun teaching online as well and make my students have fun learning as well.
That's wonderful.
So
Would you like to
yeah.
share a few of those fun learning techniques so that if anybody from the viewers would like to
Well, there's a whole lot of stuff. Well, I think basically the platforms, the tools, the techniques. There are multiple ways showing, sharing videos, and then commenting on. There are certain softwares like Video and Padlets and these kind of softwares that you can use, to make your learning interactive. And
That's
then
great.
thanks to LUMS as well, that LUMS gives us these regular trainings in terms of how you can make it more interactive online, teaching online. So, thanks to LUMS trainings as well.
True, true. And in fact, I take it like most of the institutions, they were being provided about these training that how to use the internet because most of the teachers, I mean, I'm not talking about LUMs, I'm not talking about might be universities, I'm talking about schools or colleges where teachers were not even literate to use the system, use this online teaching techniques. So over there, it's quite a bit boring thing for them. And I also take it like the way LUMS is doing this thing. I believe people should learn it from like it's already an icon in the market. Like whatever Lumps does, it's always the best thing to do. It's always a researched work, and they always give the very positive results and the very productive results as well. And I believe like other institutions should also adopt that. But anyways, let's talk about the women in our culture. How
Mhm.
find as a woman, how did you find your job in LUMS and the acceptance of a working women in the society and also in your family?
Mhm. Well, talking about problems regarding female workers, the major problems that female workers would come across. This depends on the institution. I would say that this is very subjective phenomenon that varies from institution to institution, varies from workplace to workplace, and from person to person as well. So I consider myself blessed in this regard that I've been associated with those institutions, those workplaces which were extremely cooperative, extremely motivating, then safe, secure, healthy, and comfortable. But this doesn't happen to every other woman out there. You know, women have a huge chunk of problems that they come across at the workplaces. And I think talking about some of those major problems, sexual harassment is one of the biggest issues that women would come across. Um, and then many other problems, for example, male female ratio. You know, if you look at the corporate sector, for example, places like banks and all. So, how many women are there as compared to men? Maybe it's a 70-30 ratio, something like that. You know, so women are 30%, men are 70%. And then making your place, being a minority, making your place at some workplace is extremely difficult, extremely challenging. So again, male female ratio, then gender biases. Gender biases is again, we live in a patriarchal society, you know. So over here, breaking through the glass ceiling, making it to the higher positions is extremely difficult for women. Women are not accepted at the leadership position. So, because I think this is a huge misconception over here that people think that women are not as good at leading, making decisions, and administration as men are. However, this is a misconception. If you look at the anatomy of human brain, this is actually provable biologically as well that women are better at multitasking. So if women are better at multitasking as compared to men, then obviously they can lead better, they can administer better, they can manage better. So they should be given an opportunity to get to those higher positions. So this is, I think, one of the major problems that women are not accepted. As you were talking about acceptance issues, women are not accepted at the higher positions, mainly because people think that they cannot manage, they cannot make critical decisions, and something like that. So this is, I think, these are some of the issues. I myself am blessed that I did not go through any of these problems. I've been associated with very good institutions, very good workplaces where nothing of the sort happened. But this happens to women at the workplaces,
True.
generally, naturally.
This is the problem side. I mean, of course, we are not talking about one woman. We are talking about the women in general. They are facing these problems. This is the problem side. And what's the solution side? What's the solution for that thing? And how can we make that solution possible, in your opinion?
I think the remedy could be divided into three, four different factors. Number one, education and training. Number two, leadership positions. Women should be accepted and offered leadership positions. Then equal opportunities for men and women. And then the most important factor is health, safety, and security. You know, with specific regard to mental health. If you're mentally healthy, if you're physically healthy, then you can do whatever you want. And if you're not, then vice versa. So I think that's important.
All right. So the number one point that you have shared with me is the education. But now my question comes up like, how do you see the educated women in Pakistan? Are they doing the justice with the education they have got or not?
Well, I think this depends on the social class system as well. You know, I think women who belong to higher classes, they are given more opportunities to experiment with their education. You know, they are accepted to experiment to apply their education out there. But women with lower classes are not. I would say that when it comes to challenges and when it comes to women rights, there are two major divides. There are legal rights, and then there are norms, values, and norms, values based rights, social rights. So, as far as legal rights are concerned, Pakistan is progressing in that regard. You know, women are being given legal rights now. You know, in some scenarios, they're also being given right to divorce, and then there are rights, legal protection against sexual harassment, domestic violence, stuff like that. But as far as rights in terms of norms and values are concerned, that still is a problem. Now, how is that a problem? Basically, um, first of all, lack of education, like in some areas, in less privileged rural areas. This is some kind of a norm that women should not be sent to the school. So this is lack of education part. Then there is lack of freedom of speech and freedom of choice. So choosing something for yourself, choosing a profession for yourself, choosing.
Moving on to the next question. Now, tell me one thing. I mean, we were talking about the education, the educated women, and we also see there are so many women in Pakistan who get the degrees, who get the education, and after that they are not working, they are not participating in the development of the nation, of the country, of the economy, and instead they are just sitting idle at home. What's your perception about that?
Well, again, this is the norms and values based issue that I was talking about. So we have to change the norms and values in that regard. This is not the fault of those women. This is the fault of those people who are forcing them to listen to them. We have to change. We have to try to change their way of thinking, their mindset instead of changing those women. Because if they're, I'm sure if they're given the opportunity to explore their different avenues and to experiment with their education, they would definitely do that. But they're not given the opportunity. They have to listen to those. Not because this is not because they're forced to do that, but because this is just the tradition, the norm, the value of their family, which they have to adhere to. So that's what I'm talking about.
All right.
They
So,
can they can rebel against it if they have the guts, but very few women do.
true. All right. So, if I mean, in a crux, you want to say that the change would not be from the bottom to top; it would be from the top to bottom. Now, my
Top
next
to
question
bottom.
would be:
Very good.
how can we change the top mindset? The people who are at the top level, who are the authority, how can we change their mindset?
Mhm. How can we change their mindset? Well, that sounds like something impossible, next to impossible. But I think women themselves have to take an action against it. They themselves have to come out of that glass ceiling, come out of that shell, come out of that bell jar. So that would work for them instead of trying to change their mindset. I would change my argument, which I was trying to make earlier, because that sounds like something impossible. So yes, I think we need to start from the bottom. Starting from the top is
All right.
tougher than that.
Great. So just as you were mentioning that you were privileged to study in the top-notch universities, along with that, you're working in a very really nice organizations. Uh, so what is the role of those educational institutions or the government or the organization in helping of women developing this stronger mindset so that they could build the mindset of the authorities?
Educational institutions have a very, very crucial role in shaping a woman. Because I would give the credit to my my bachelor's degree institution, which was Kinnaird College, because mostly what I learned in my life, mostly what I experienced, mostly what I implemented comes from that part of my life. The grooming, the training that happened there. So educational institutions have a very, very crucial role. You must go to a proper institution, not necessarily a top-notch and elite institution, but a proper institution that has a proper educational environment where you can have these interpersonal skills and exchange of views and ideas. So I think that's very important in grooming a person's life, not just for women, but for every individual in the world. That's
That's great.
extremely important.
So, just as you are appreciating your Canadian institution right now, so what do you think? Why does this institution stand out? And what are the things that they were doing over there that other institutions should also do?
Well, they mainly, first of all, that was a women's college. So there were all the women. So that gives a sense of empowerment to women itself, that women are working together as a team and they are reaching those heights and they are competing with men out there. So outside the boundaries of this institution, they are actually capable of competing with the men. So I think that gives a sense of empowerment to a woman herself. And then the entire educational environment which was created there, the teachers, the instructors, the mentors, then students coming from various backgrounds, various parts of the country, uh, you know, exchanging and exchanging their views and ideas, and then sharing their backgrounds, everything. So that kind of interpersonal experience that happens, those skills which are exchanged, is something very very important in any person, any individual's life.
True. So this was from the education side, this was from the institution side. And how about, and just as you were mentioning earlier, the women, they do not get the leadership jobs most of the time. People do not consider they could become the good leader, which they can, just as you were mentioning. How about when they want to enter into a workplace? How do they get treated? I mean, do they welcome the women whenever they are going for the workplace, even with experience, without experience? Or, I mean, is there some sort of the biasness over there?
Well, I think I'm not the right person to be answering this question. As I said, that I've never experienced that myself, because the workplaces that I've been working at welcomed me like a princess. Maybe that's the right word. Like they gave me all the respect, all the honor which is required. But I do realize that other women in other workplaces where there is where there are men more in number, which are male dominated institutions. There, women do have to make a lot of effort, a lot of they have a huge chunk of challenges. They have to make their way on that narrower path to reach to certain levels, to certain destinations. So I think that that actually sounds like a big challenge.
That's great. Well, Mahrukh, that is it for today. Thank you so very much for your time and for your answer, for your, for sharing your exposure, your vision with us. It was really worth listening to. And we are really privileged to have your time, to have you here on the board today.
Thank you so much for inviting me
Pleasure.
over, Farhan. It was a great time with you. Thank you so
Likewise,
much.
likewise. Thank you. Take care. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz, Mahrukh.
I love you.
Allah Hafiz.